The galaxy had long known peace, or what the alien empires called peace. Vast armadas drifted between stars, conquering and forcing absorbing worlds into their sprawling dominions. Their fleets were endless, their technology incomprehensible to lesser species. And yet, on the edge of the Milky Way, one small blue planet dared to burn brighter than the rest. That planet was Earth. On a quiet morning with sunlight spilling like molten gold over the cities, Mara stood on the rooftop of her family's home in Solara City. Her brown eyes reflected the distant shimmer of the skyports, where alien freighters came and went like silent, menacing shadows. She clenched her fists, feeling the weight of what had been stolen from her people. Their freedom, their dignity, their voice. "Why do they think we are weak?" she muttered to herself, watching a Valon cruiser glide overhead. Its dark hull swallowed the sunlight, leaving a cold shadow over the streets below. The Valons were the first to claim dominion over Earth, and their emissaries had been relentless. Curfews, labor quotas, indoctrination programs. Humans were useful, adaptable, intelligent, but to the empires merely tools to be guided and controlled. From the alley below, a young boy named Leon peeked at the sky. He carried a small battered drone, a relic from before the occupation. "Mara," he whispered, rushing up the stairs 2 at a time. "They're talking about the harvest again. They want the city's energy core shipped to Sector 9. His eyes were wide with fear, but Mara saw something deeper. Spark, a flicker of defiance. "Leon, we can't hide anymore," Mara said, her voice low but firm. "The empires think they have broken us. That fear is their weapon, but it only makes us stronger." He stared at her, a mixture of awe and doubt. "Stronger? Against them?" "Yes," she said, feeling the words settle in her chest like steel. "We are human. We endure, we survive. And one day, we will rise." For decades, humans had been taught submission. Entire generations had grown up believing the alien empires were inevitable. But Mara remembered stories. Stories of her grandmother, a woman who had watched Earth's first invasion and refused to bow. Tales of human explorers, inventors, dreamers who faced impossible odds and somehow triumphed. Those stories were whispered like prayers in hidden corners, spreading courage where none should exist. The first spark of rebellion came quietly, in the shadows. Mara, Leon, and a handful of others had begun building a resistance, not with massive weapons, not with fleets they did not yet possess, but with knowledge, cunning, and courage. They scavenged old human technology, learned alien languages, studied the Empire's patterns, and above all, kept their spirits unbroken. Tonight, the city would not sleep. Mara led the group through dimly lit tunnels beneath the sprawling metropolis, where the pulse of the alien occupation was weaker, where old human ingenuity still lingered like a heartbeat in the walls. Every step was deliberate, careful, but filled with purpose. "Remember," Mara whispered as they approached the central power hub, "we are invisible until we strike. And when we strike, it will echo across the stars." The humans moved like shadows, guided by instinct, knowledge, and sheer determination. Mara's heart pounded, but not with fear. This was the rhythm of rebellion, raw and alive. Every corner of the city held potential allies, hidden among the oppressed, waiting for a signal. And tonight, that signal would burn brighter than any cruiser's hull. As they reached the hub, Leon hesitated, his fingers trembling over the controls of a makeshift device they had built to disrupt the alien energy grid. Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Fear is natural. Doubt is normal. But we are human, and that is why they cannot control us forever." The device hummed to life, a soft but insistent vibration beneath their hands. Lights flickered, alarms whispered warnings, and for a brief moment the city seemed suspended between the weight of oppression and the thrill of liberation. Somewhere beyond the stars, Mara imagined the Empire's commanders, confident in their dominance, unaware that a single spark could ignite a firestorm. And in that moment, Mara understood. The galaxy had underestimated humans, their resilience, their unpredictability, their boundless capacity to hope. Tonight, the first spark had been struck, and from that spark, humanity would roar. The hum of the device had barely faded when the first signs of chaos spread through Solara City. Lights stuttered and flickered like the heartbeat of a frightened giant. Streets normally sterile and orderly under Valon rule erupted in confusion. Automated patrols glitched. their sensors scrambling to adapt to disruptions they did not understand. Mara's team slipped through the alleys, hearts hammering with the thrill of defiance. Leon's hands still shook from their success, but a grin broke across his face. "We did it. We really did it." Mara's eyes scanned the horizon, where the first streaks of Valon enforcement ships streaked toward the city like predatory birds. "It's only the beginning," she murmured. "They will retaliate, but we are ready." The Valons had believed that humans were predictable, controllable. They had underestimated the tenacity born from centuries of survival against impossible odds. Mara knew that fear was a weapon they wielded expertly, but humans, unlike most species, thrived on adversity. Where others saw limits, humans saw possibilities. Where others sought order, humans carved freedom. By dawn, news had traveled faster than anyone could have imagined. Across neighboring settlements, small skirmishes erupted. Human laborers sabotaged alien supply lines. Engineers disabled communication arrays. Farmers blocked transport routes with improvised barricades. Solara City had become a spark, tiny, fragile, yet fiercely alive. In the command tower of the Valon fleet, Admiral Sierra watched the reports with disbelief. Her compound eyes, capable of perceiving multiple spectra at once, narrowed as she tried to understand what had gone wrong. "Impossible," she hissed in her native tongue. "They are not following protocol. They resistance." The word felt foreign, almost primitive, and yet undeniably effective. Mara understood it as she led her team back to their hidden base beneath the city. Every corridor and tunnel echoed with tension and possibility. Every face in her small band reflected the same mixture of fear and exhilaration. Among them was Kale, a former engineer who had worked on the alien energy grids before their capture. He had seen the Empire's technology in ways few humans had. "They think in sequences," he explained quietly, "but we think in contradictions. Their systems are strong, but predictable. And predictability is weakness," Mara nodded. "That is why we are human. They cannot anticipate imagination. They cannot measure courage. They cannot understand hope." The first strikes were symbolic, but their ripple was profound. On distant worlds under alien control, whispers began to circulate. Traders, smugglers, and even some alien laborers spoke of Earth's rebellion. They called it the Flame of Solara. That name carried no fleet or army, no grand speech or manifesto, just the undeniable fact that a small, defiant species had dared to challenge their overlords. Meanwhile, Mara's group faced their first moral test. In a sector of the city, a Valon patrol caught a pair of humans attempting sabotage. They were not part of Mara's group, just ordinary citizens terrified yet unwilling to submit. The patrol opened fire. Mara could feel the tremor of anger rising, but she held herself back. She ordered a careful diversion, using smoke grenades and calculated electrical pulses. The humans escaped, but the patrol remained confused and frustrated. "It's worse than I thought," Leon whispered, eyes wide. "They'll hunt us now, everywhere." "Yes," Mara said, voice calm yet unwavering. "And that is why we must move faster. Every act of courage is a seed. Every seed grows into resistance, and soon the galaxy will shake." The city's night sky, once dominated by alien silhouettes, now held traces of human defiance. Small fires flickered in the distance, sabotage wreaked havoc on the grids, and Valon forces scrambled to respond. It was not just a physical battle, it was psychological warfare. Every successful human act chipped away at the illusion of alien supremacy. On a distant observatory, an elderly human historian watched the events unfold through data streams intercepted from alien communication networks. She whispered to herself, tears in her eyes. "They've remembered who they are. Humanity cannot be tamed." Mara and her team rested briefly before preparing for the next strike. In that calm, fragile moment, they allowed themselves a rare taste of hope. It was dangerous, intoxicating, and utterly human. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, had never encountered a species quite like this. And Mara knew it. Every action, every small victory was more than rebellion. It was a declaration, a warning. Humanity had returned to the stage, not as subjects but as stormbringers. From the depths of hidden tunnels to the highest towers of alien fleets, a single truth began to resonate. The empires were not eternal. They had not accounted for the power of imagination, courage, and the relentless heartbeat of human spirit. Tonight the flames of Solara would burn brighter, and in every shadow, humanity would rise. By the third week of rebellion, Solara City was no longer just a city. It was a symbol. Its streets, once sterile and orderly under alien control, were alive with human ingenuity and defiance. Mara watched from a high vantage point as her people moved with purpose. They were not soldiers, not yet. They were humans reclaiming their own fate, turning fear into action, resistance into rhythm. The Valons were relentless. Patrols increased, fleets circled above, and the alien drones, cold and mechanical, attempted to predict human behavior. Yet every calculated move the Empire made was met with unpredictability. Humans thrived on contradictions, improvisation, and hope. They adapted, countered, and struck when least expected. Leon, now less hesitant and more determined, was at the heart of the technological resistance. Using salvaged alien systems, he and Kale modified drones to mimic Valon patrols. They used the drones to intercept communications, reroute energy, and mislead the alien forces. Each success emboldened the humans. Each victory a whisper of defiance that grew louder with every passing day. Mara walked among them, not as a commander distant and unapproachable, but as one of them, an equal, a guide, a spark in the growing fire. "We are more than we know," she said quietly to a group of young fighters. "The Empires see numbers, machines, strategies. They do not see hearts. They do not understand courage. They do not understand humanity." But courage was never without consequence. During a raid on a Valon supply depot, Mara's team faced their first true loss. A young fighter named Seelan, barely 17, was struck by a pulse weapon while disabling a grid relay. Mara held her as life drained from her eyes, words failing in the weight of grief. We fight for them too," Leon whispered, voice breaking. "For everyone they take from us." Mara nodded, her own grief tempered with resolve. "Yes, and Seelan's courage will not be forgotten. Her spirit will guide every strike we make." The loss strengthened them. It reminded them of what was at stake, of why defiance mattered more than fear. The ripple of human rebellion spread beyond Earth. Trade ships carrying humans to distant colonies shared news of Solara's sparks. In sectors long considered pacified, humans rose quietly, striking at supply lines, sabotaging fleets, and refusing orders. On some worlds, entire settlements switched allegiances overnight. Alien rulers confident in their systems of dominance faced a new, terrifying reality: unpredictability. Humanity could not be contained. Meanwhile, Admiral Syra of the Valons convened her commanders in the orbiting war citadel. "They are everywhere," she growled, her many eyes narrowing. "These humans, they do not fear us. They resist. And every victory they achieve, no matter how small, inspires more to rise. We cannot crush them by force alone." One commander, a Valon named Trev, spoke cautiously. "Perhaps they are not meant to be conquered in the traditional sense. Their resilience is unlike any species we have faced. Perhaps they are a contagion." Syra's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Then we adapt or we die trying. No more hesitation." Back on Earth, Mara and her team prepared for a bold move, an attack on a critical alien supply hub orbiting the planet. It was risky, almost suicidal, but it was necessary. Each strike had a purpose, each sacrifice a meaning. They were not simply fighting for survival. They were shaping the galaxy's understanding of humanity. As Mara briefed her team, Leon adjusted his equipment. "If we succeed," he said, "we show them that even in space humans are unpredictable, that even under impossible odds we endure." "Yes," Mara agreed, her voice steady and fierce. "And if we fail, we will fail knowing we did everything a human could do. But I do not believe in failure, not yet. Not when we fight with hearts unbound by fear." The night before the mission, Mara walked alone to the rooftop, gazing at the stars. Somewhere among those constellations, alien fleets shifted in preparation, unaware that humans were already inside their systems, turning their own weapons against them. Mara felt the weight of the universe press upon her, but she did not tremble. From the darkness of oppression rose a light that refused to be extinguished. That light was human, bold, stubborn, defiant, and the empires, vast and unyielding though they were, could not comprehend the strength that resided in hearts that refused to bow. As dawn approached, Mara whispered a silent vow. "We will not stop. We will not yield. The galaxy will remember humanity not as victims, but as the storm that shattered chains, toppled empires, and reshaped worlds. And with that, The humans prepared to strike once more, this time beyond their own skies, into the very heart of alien power. The stars stretched endlessly above Mara as the human fleet prepared for the assault on the orbital supply hub. The ships were humble, cobbled together from scavenged alien technology, retrofitted freighters, and human ingenuity. They lacked the sleek perfection of Valon cruisers, but they carried something the aliens could never predict: audacity. Leon stood at the command console, his hands steady, despite the tension rippling through the bridge. "Sensors show patrol routes, but they're rigid," he said. "If we time this right, we can slip past detection and hit the core directly." Kale, leaning over a map of the hub's defenses, nodded. "Their patterns are flawless if you follow them blindly. But humans don't follow blindly. We create, we improvise. That is our advantage." Mara's eyes swept across the bridge. Her team, young and old, inexperienced and brilliant alike, were ready. She could feel their fear, yes, but also their courage, the fire of determination that had carried them from the streets of Solara City to the void of space. "Remember," she said softly, "we are more than machines, more than numbers. We are human, and we will endure where they expect us to fail." The attack began under the cover of a distant asteroid field. Human ships darkened against the void, moved like shadows among the rocks. Mara's fleet was small but united, each ship connected through encrypted communication, their pilots synchronized not by protocol but by instinct. When the first Valon patrol appeared, it was Leon's turn to test his improvisation. He released a swarm of decoy drones that mimicked the fleet's energy signatures. The Valons, precise but predictable, locked onto the wrong targets, their sensors fooled by patterns they could not recognize. Mara's heart raced, but she did not falter. "Now," she commanded. The human fleet surged forward, breaching the outer defenses of the supply hub with an audacity no alien strategy had accounted for. Inside the hub, chaos erupted. Explosions tore through storage bays. Supply lines were severed and alien soldiers scrambled to respond. The humans moved with purpose, each strike calculated yet fluid, turning the hub's own systems against them. Amid the attack, Mara's team faced their first direct confrontation with the Valons inside the hub. Their weapons were advanced, pulse-based, designed to incinerate any human on contact. Yet Mara and her companions did not retreat. They fought strategically, using shadows, speed, and terrain to their advantage. Each human strike was precise, each movement a testament to adaptability and courage. Leon intercepted a Valon drone attempting to flank them. With a swift recalibration, he turned its targeting systems back on its companions. The resulting confusion allowed Mara to lead a strike team to the hub's central core. There, they planted the human-engineered device designed to destabilize the supply network. The core's hum shifted, then surged violently, lights flashing like the pulse of a living heart. Alarms blared across the hub, and Mara's team sprinted for the exit, weaving through corridors now alive with panic and confusion. When they finally emerged into the open space of the orbital docking bay, they looked back to see the hub erupt in controlled chaos. Energy conduits sparked, automated supply freighters veered off course, and the Valons scrambled to contain what had become a catastrophe beyond their understanding. Mara floated in the docking bay, her breath steady despite the exhilaration coursing through her. "We've done it," she said, voice quiet but resolute. "This is only the beginning, but it proves one thing. We are not powerless. We are not prisoners. We are human." Leon's grin was unrestrained. They didn't see that coming. Not even close. Kyle, ever the strategist, shook his head with awe. They'll adapt eventually. But humans do not wait to be expected. We act when necessary. We endure. The victory sent ripples far beyond Earth's orbit. News of the attack carried through human networks and intercepted alien communications, spread like wildfire. Worlds under alien control began to whisper of rebellion. Colonists, laborers, and even some alien subordinates questioned their rulers' infallibility. Humanity, small yet unyielding, had struck the heart of the empires and survived. But victory carried its own weight. Mara knew the Valons would retaliate with fury unmatched. The galaxy had taken note of humans, and the empires were far from forgiving. Every victory would demand sacrifice, every triumph would test endurance, and every defiance would provoke retaliation. As Mara looked at her team, battered but victorious, she whispered, "The stars are vast, and the empires are strong, but so are we. and they will never understand what it means to be human. In the cold expanse of space among the shattered remains of alien dominance, a new truth echoed. Humans were no longer bound to fear. They were defiant. They were unpredictable, and they were ready to ignite a revolution that would shake worlds to their foundations. The first flames had burned brightly, but the fire of humanity had only just begun. The galaxy was waking. Once humans had been scattered, isolated, and underestimated. Now their defiance echoed through star systems like a tempest no empire could suppress. Word of Solara City's rebellion and the daring assault on the orbital hub traveled faster than any fleet. Colonies long enslaved by alien empires began to stir. Inspired by the audacity of a small species that refused to bow, Mara watched from the command bridge of the flagship Aurora, the human fleet now larger. Still modest compared to Valon armadas, but filled with a new kind of power. Courage, innovation, unity. It was not strength measured in tonnage or firepower, but in resilience, the human spirit distilled into action. Beside her, Leon adjusted a holographic map. Scans show several systems with coordinated uprisings, he said. The empires are struggling to respond. Every strike we've made, every sabotage has encouraged resistance elsewhere. It's spreading faster than we predicted. Kale's expression was grave. And yet, the empires will retaliate. When they do, they won't just come for us, they will try to crush every spark of defiance. Humans are bold, but even boldness has limits. Mara met their eyes with quiet resolve. Limits are invisible to those who dare. We endure, we adapt, we rise. That is what makes us human. And that is what makes us unstoppable. The first contact with the Valons in open space was not a battle. It was a psychological confrontation. A massive Valon fleet appeared near the system of Tyran, their hulls gleaming in the light of a distant star. Thousands of ships perfectly coordinated, each a weapon designed to annihilate resistance. Yet the humans did not falter. Instead, they struck at what the aliens least expected: unpredictability. Mara's fleet divided into multiple groups, feints and decoys moving like shadows. Human pilots used unorthodox tactics, weaving through asteroid belts, exploiting natural phenomena, and striking weak points in formation that the empires considered secure. On the surface of Tyran, human insurgents sabotaged energy grids, redirected communication arrays, and liberated oppressed colonies. Farmers and laborers, previously silent under alien rule, became active participants, guided by the audacity of humans who refused to accept subjugation. Amid the chaos, Mara's mind wandered briefly to those who had fallen. Seelan, the young fighter from Solara, engineers and strategists lost in earlier strikes, countless ordinary humans who had sacrificed life and comfort for freedom. Each loss was a weight, yet also a fuel. They were the quiet strength behind every human action, the unseen heartbeat that drove the rebellion forward. In the Valon War Council, Admiral Syra's compound eyes burned with fury. "They multiply," she hissed. "Every system we suppress, another rises. Every strategy we devise, they adapt. Humans, they are chaos incarnate, and yet there is something dangerous in their hope." Her advisors trembled under her scrutiny. "Perhaps they cannot be crushed," one ventured, voice hesitant. "Perhaps the species itself is a threat beyond calculation." Syra's mandibles clicked sharply. "Then we do not calculate. We annihilate, and if we fail, the fault will not be ours alone." Back in human space, Mara prepared for the next operation, a simultaneous strike on 3 heavily guarded supply stations across neighboring systems. Each team was small but lethal in creativity. Every decision had been debated, tested, and refined. Yet no plan was perfect. Humans thrived in imperfection, turning uncertainty into opportunity. The first strike began in the shadow of Tyran's moons. Mara led her squad in a stealth approach, slipping past orbital defenses. Explosions rippled through the station as sabotage devices detonated, sending supply freighters tumbling into the void. The Valons responded quickly, but humans had already vanished, leaving confusion and awe in their wake. The second strike, in the distant system of Relora, was more audacious. Leon had designed a network of drones that could infiltrate the station undetected, mimicking routine maintenance protocols. The humans moved through the corridors, bypassing automated defenses with ingenuity that no algorithm could predict. Every liberated worker became a participant, every freed vessel a new asset. By the time the Valons realized the scale of the uprising, multiple systems had already fallen into human hands. The ripple of rebellion became a tidal wave. Colonists whispered of humans not as victims, but as stormbringers. Alien rulers began questioning their control, unsure if any system was truly safe. Yet amidst the victories, tension gripped Mara's fleet. Exhaustion weighed heavily on her team, the constant vigilance of rebellion taking a toll on mind and body. The humans' resilience was extraordinary, but even the strongest spirit could be tested. Mara knew that the greatest battle was not always against ships or weapons. It was against doubt, fear, and the temptation to yield when the cost of defiance was immense. She looked out into the stars, seeing not empty void, but opportunity. "We are human," she whispered to herself, voice low but fierce. "And that means we endure. That means we fight. That means we rise when the empires expect us to fall." The rising tempest of humanity could not be stopped. Each victory, each act of defiance was another spark in the galaxy's dark corners, igniting hope, inspiring courage, and leaving alien rulers trembling. And Mara knew this truth. The empires had underestimated not just her people, but the very essence of humanity itself. The storm had begun. The galaxy quaked under the weight of human defiance. What had begun as a single spark in Solara City had grown into a storm that the empires could no longer contain. Systems that once bowed under alien rule now rose with voices that refused to be silenced. Mara watched from the command deck of the Aurora, the flagship now a beacon of hope, a rallying point for resistance fleets and insurgents alike. Leon stood beside her, eyes bright despite the fatigue etched into his youthful face. "Reports are coming in from every sector," he said, fingers flying over the console. "Colonies are rebelling en masse. Supply lines are in chaos. The empires, they don't know how to respond." Kale, ever the cautious strategist, frowned. "They'll regroup. They'll strike harder, faster. Humanity has sparked a war across the stars. But we cannot underestimate the consequences. The empires will not forgive, and neither will they forget." Mara's eyes scanned the holographic map, systems lighting up like sparks in the void. "That is true," she said softly, her voice carrying both reverence and resolve. "But they cannot comprehend the power of hope, the strength of defiance, or the courage of hearts that refuse to bow. We are human, and that is more than any empire can calculate." The first massive engagement came near the Relora cluster. Valon fleets, hundreds of ships strong, attempted to reclaim the rebellious systems. Their precision was terrifying, each ship a calculated instrument of war. Yet human ingenuity turned predictability against them. The fleet split, using asteroid belts and magnetic storms as cover, striking from unexpected angles. Mara coordinated strikes not as a commander of machines, but as a leader of hearts, reading instincts and intuition rather than rigid calculations. Leon's drones infiltrated Valon formations, turning their own weapons against them. Kale predicted alien maneuvers, creating traps from patterns the Valons believed unassailable. Explosions painted the void in flashes of green and silver, punctuated by the cries of triumph and grief from human crews. Mara's heart pounded not just with fear or adrenaline, but with pride. Every human vessel, every freed colony, every act of resistance was proof of their unstoppable resilience. Yet victory carried cost. Ships were lost, brave souls sacrificed, and the emotional toll was heavier than the physical. Mara had learned that in war, courage was inseparable from grief. Every human life lost strengthened the resolve of the survivors, but also deepened the shadows in their hearts. During a lull between battles, Mara spoke with Leon and Kale privately. "We are changing the galaxy," she said quietly. "Systems are no longer afraid to rise. Empires tremble at the idea of a species that refuses control. But the real battle? The battle is to maintain ourselves, our humanity, amidst the chaos." Leon nodded, voice low. "I've seen it, Mara, fear in their eyes. But I've also seen it in ours. We hold hope and grief together, and somehow that makes us stronger." Kale's hands rested on the table, eyes thoughtful. "The Empire's technology is immense, their fleet's vast. But humans have the capacity to inspire, to adapt, to endure. That is a weapon no machine can replicate, no strategy can neutralize." As they spoke, the fleet received new intelligence. Another sector had declared independence from the Valons, rallying behind human leadership. Mara's eyes glimmered with determination. "We are no longer just fighting for ourselves," she said. "We are fighting for every oppressed being, every planet shackled by fear, every heart that has been silenced. Humanity is no longer hidden. We are the storm, and the galaxy will feel us." The Valons launched their counterstrike with unprecedented force, aiming to crush the human rebellion before it spread further. Mara's fleet, though smaller, moved like lightning, striking at supply hubs, communications networks, and fleet command points. Humans fought with precision, courage, and creativity, turning every disadvantage into opportunity. Amid the battle, Mara reflected on the truth of their struggle. It was not just ships, weapons, or territory that mattered. It was spirit. The spark that had started in Solara City now burned in thousands of hearts across the galaxy. That fire was invisible to alien scanners, immeasurable by their technology, unstoppable because it came from something they could not understand: the human soul. By the time the conflict of the day ended, the Valons were battered, their morale shaken. The humans had endured where the empires expected them to crumble. News of the victories traveled faster than fleets could chase, inspiring uprisings on distant worlds. The storm of humanity was no longer a threat contained to Earth. It was a tidal wave reshaping the galaxy. Mara stood alone on the deck, looking at the stars. "We are not just survivors," she whispered to herself. "We are more. We are defiance. We are hope. We are human." And with that, she knew the storm had only just begun. The galaxy was unrecognizable. Once, alien empires ruled with calculated precision, their dominance unquestioned. Now entire sectors burned with the audacity of humans, defiant, unpredictable, unstoppable. Mara stood on the bridge of the Aurora, gazing at the battlefield of stars before her. Every light, every shadow, every movement carried the heartbeat of rebellion. Leon's fingers danced over the controls, eyes bright with determination. Sensors show the Valon command fleet in disarray. Their supply lines are shattered and morale is plummeting. They can't coordinate a unified strike. Kale nodded, a rare smile touching his face. "We've done the impossible. Every system liberated, every fleet we've outmaneuvered. It all led here. But one final push remains, their central command. Strike there and the empires will crumble." Mara's gaze hardened. The central Valon command fleet, a fortress among the stars, was the heart of their power. Destroy it, and the chains that bound countless worlds would fall. It was dangerous, more dangerous than anything humans had faced, but she knew fear was not an option. "Then we go forward," she said. "Not as victims, not as subjects, but as humans. Defiant, unbroken, unbowed." The assault began with precision and unpredictability. Mara's fleet split into dozens of squads, each striking from angles the Valons could not anticipate. Leon's drones infiltrated command networks, sending false orders and creating confusion. Kale's strategy exploited weaknesses in formations, turning alien strengths into liabilities. In the heart of the enemy fleet, Mara's squad board breached the command vessel. The alien officers were formidable, but they were unprepared for humans who fought not just with weapons, but with courage and ingenuity. Every movement, every choice reflected the unyielding spirit of a species that refused to be controlled. Explosions tore through the Valon command ship, systems failing one by one. Mara planted the final destabilizing device, a human-engineered marvel designed to incapacitate the fleet without indiscriminate destruction. "For every world they enslaved," she whispered. "For every life they tried to take, this is for humanity." The device activated and the command ship systems spiraled into chaos. Lights flickered and died. Communications shattered and the massive fleet became disoriented and vulnerable. Mara's team retreated, navigating debris and turbulence with practiced skill. Outside, the human fleet pressed the advantage, striking every isolated vessel, liberating occupied colonies, and leaving the empires in total disarray. From orbital platforms to remote colonies, oppressed beings watched in awe as the once unstoppable Valon fleet crumbled. The galaxy was no longer silent under alien rule. Hope surged through countless worlds. Whispers of rebellion became roars of liberation. Humanity had not just survived, they had transformed the cosmos. Amid the triumph, Mara allowed herself a moment of reflection. Countless lives had been lost, countless sacrifices made, but the cost had not been in vain. Humans had proven that courage, creativity, and spirit could topple empires. They had shown the galaxy that no matter how vast or powerful the oppressors, the indomitable heart of a single species could ignite change. Leon approached, awe in his eyes. "We did it, Mara. We really did it." Mara's gaze returned to the stars, calm yet fierce. "We did it, Leon, but this is just the beginning. The galaxy has seen what humans can do. They will remember us not as subjects, but as the force that shattered chains, challenged gods, and ignited freedom." Kyle stepped beside them, eyes thoughtful. "They'll rebuild. New empires may rise, but they will never underestimate humans again, and that is our greatest victory." As the stars shimmered in the aftermath of battle, Mara felt the quiet strength of humanity everywhere, in the children playing freely on liberated worlds, in the engineers rebuilding what had been destroyed, in the hearts of those who had learned that fear could be defied. The galaxy had been changed forever. The humans' journey had begun with a spark in Solara City, a flicker of hope against impossible odds. Now that spark had become a storm, a force that no empire could contain, a legacy of defiance echoing across the cosmos. Mara raised her hand, not in triumph, but in solemn promise. "We are human, we endure, we fight, we rise, and we will never bow." Across the stars, the echoes of humanity's courage lingered. Worlds trembled, empires fell, and the galaxy, vast, infinite, and once indifferent, now knew a single undeniable truth. Humans could not be broken, and the universe would never forget it.